Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This afternoon, I have a really nice guest and really interesting talk about Nudge. I'm here with Diogo Gonçalves, the founder of Nudge Portugal. Hello, Diogo.
Hi, Gemma.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This afternoon, I have a really nice guest and really interesting talk about Nudge. Now, hello. How are you, Diogo?
Hi, Gemma.
How are you? Tell us.
I'm
Introduce
great.
yourselves.
I'm great. I'm in a very comfortable couch, and I'm hoping a very interesting conversation with you about this topic.
Right. Tell us a little about what you do, Diogo, because I know a lot of people doesn't know about what is nudging and what is behavior. What is
Yeah.
nudging, and how can you apply it?
Yeah. So I do two things. So I work as a university professor in my city, Lisbon. And I also founded a startup, let's call it like this, called Nudge Portugal. Yeah, so it was the first initiative to disseminate and to start the first interventions of nudging in Portugal. And this was already like 3 years ago. And nudging basically is doing a change, sometimes a very small change in the context of decision making that has an influence at an unconscious level and influences the decisions of people in a predictable and automatic way. Okay? So, for example, in a supermarket, putting and let me add this because this is important, without changing the financial incentives and leaving all the alternatives, the same alternatives on the table. So in a supermarket, like putting products at an eye level, making them more salient, can be considered a nudge, but doing a promotion, not, okay? Or if we think about public administration, creating a fine for people that don't pay their taxes on time is not a nudge, but structuring the letter in order to make people to increase the percentage of people that pay their taxes on time, it's a nudge.
Okay.
Okay.
And you are talking about offline, but how will you do it online? It's possible to do it online?
Yes. Not only it's possible, as maybe it's even more relevant online, and it can reach more people. Okay. Why? Because nudging, the idea of nudging and the appearance of this concept that was launched in 2008 by through a book written by Richard Taylor, Nobel Prize of Economics in 2017, and Kassenstein, a law professor in Harvard. But this concept emerges because of the idea that comes from psychology that we have two systems of thinking, fast and slow. And most of our decisions are based on this fast, intuitive, emotional system, okay? And what we are starting to realize is that online, this system is even more important, even more present, even more frequently used in our online decisions. Okay, so nudge becomes quite relevant in this context.
And can you see an example?
Yes, many examples. But for example, let me start with one that is very simple, but it seems obvious, but that sometimes is forgotten. It has to do with the excessive online information. Okay. So when we are online, not only online, but especially online, there's no scarcity of information. The scarce resource is attention, okay? So any website or any platform that can reduce information, that can conserve the levels of attention, the budget of attention of the user, will immediately have an advantage, a competitive advantage over the others. Okay, so this is a very simple first example, but like there are many ways we can use behavioral principles to improve decision making online. So if we think about online behavior, it's very visual. Okay, the visuals or the eyes are the most used sensorial mechanism. Okay, so something very important is the location on the screen where we put the information. So we know there's a middle bias. So all the information that is put in the middle of the screen receives more attention than other parts of the screen. So that immediately is a nudge. So if you want people to pay more attention to certain information, you should put it in the middle of the screen or in the top left part of the screen. Yes. So we already, there are several studies that show that. So that's also a very simple way of nudging behavior online by managing the attention of the user.
Yeah, that's right. I always say to my customer to put the logo in the top left. And they say, but why? I see it in other places too. And I say, yeah, because our eyes go there. I don't know. I cannot display the backer of it, but it's true.
Yeah.
And some people also don't realize, what you say about the attention. It's also in videos because some people make it too long. How long do you think is the best for videos online?
Well, I don't have a very clear study that pops up in my mind, but I would say like 90 seconds would be the
Yeah, but if I'm training or something like this, for example, what I hear before is between 5 and 6 minutes, but people is doing 20. What do you think about it?
Sorry?
About some training videos. People is doing videos with 20 minutes. But I read before that is 5-6 minutes is the best, because after 6 minutes our head goes to other place or to other tab. What do you think?
Well, it depends. I don't think you can say an exact number. It depends on the goal of the video, of how interested are the viewers in the topic. I think that's also something that's very important to think of. It's that first we should think about the goal.
Yes, of course.
So, what is the goal of your website or of that part of your website? It's for people to complete a task, for people to retain information, or is it for people to reflect? So according with the goal that you have in mind, you can use different strategies. Okay. So for example, if so we have these two systems, right? The fast and the slow. So if the goal is for people to complete a task, we should help the user to use the fast system of thinking. Okay. And one example is when you apply to some vacancy, you can automatically fulfill some of the fields with information of the person that does the application to make it more easier. Okay, yes. When that's the goal. But for example, if you want people to memorize information, maybe then you want to use a principle called cognitive disfluency. What does this mean? This means to make the information a bit more difficult to process. Okay? So, for example, if you have a text and you want people to memorize a particular part of the text, maybe you want to write that part with a less familiar font, or with with a grayscale, so 60% black only, to make it a bit more difficult to read. Why? Because this will make people to process more the text and to remember it better. Okay. And if you want people to reflect, for example, on a warning or an advice, maybe you also want to activate this slow system of thinking through this cognitive disfluency strategy. Okay.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. And one thing, I don't know, maybe this is you have to think more of this, but one problem that I see a lot, the people that have online stores, e-commerce, there are a lot of people put things in the basket, but they don't buy it. So they put it there, but they don't do the last process to buy.
Okay.
Have you think
Why does it?
Yeah. Do you know? You have an idea why? What can we do to make the people say, okay, I'm going to buy? Because they say 9% of the people buy what they put in the basket.
Only 9%.
Yes.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So basically, it's very accepted fact that people, they have difficulties choosing when there are a lot of alternatives. Okay. And in the online, the alternatives are sometimes up to thousands of alternatives. Or so if you go to Amazon or any of these big websites, there are endless alternatives. So something very important is how the website helps people to make the decision. Okay, and there are techniques to help people make the best decision. One of the ways that can be used, there are some studies about this, is with categorization. Okay, so it can help people create smart categories. So imagine I want to buy books, and you give me 2 or 3 variables that I value more in a book, and the website creates categories of book according with that variables. That will help choose, and it will also increase the perception of variety, and will make the choice more pleasant. And then there are some techniques to after, besides categorization, there are other important aspects. So after you have categories, how are you going to choose within these categories? Okay. So one way that was studied, and I think it's very interesting, is to do tournaments with alternatives. So you have 16 books. If you show me the 16 books that the algorithm considers would be interesting for me, that's still a lot. It's very difficult to choose between 16 alternatives. Okay. So what you can do, you can create a tournament where you split the 16 alternatives in 4 groups, and I will have to pick one book for each of the 4 groups of 4 books. Okay.
Yes.
And then these alternatives that I pick will create a second group of 4 books, and from these 4 books I will choose the last one. So this is a choice tournament. Okay.
Yeah, that's helpful.
That can be very helpful to facilitate decision making online.
But I think this also happening offline, because sometimes when you go to a store and there are many things, it's difficult to choose.
Yeah, for sure. This also happens offline, but the problem is that online the alternatives are even more than offline, because there are no physical constraints normally. Okay.
That's true.
And another thing that that is important, I think, in terms of helping people make choices online, it's helping them to cope with regret. Okay, so we always think about what the alternative that was forgone, that we didn't pick, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then we can make the decision. So sometimes we prefer not to choose to avoid regretting the alternative that we didn't pick. Okay, yeah, and there are some studies that talk about this idea of how to avoid this regret from the foregone alternative. Okay, and one way to do this is to create something that so when you refuse one alternative, you create some visual sign. So maybe a red cross over that alternative, or a sign saying rejected. Something that gives to the mind the idea that that alternative is already out of the option. Okay.
That helps.
So this, yeah, there are studies that show that these kind of subtle visual warnings help to avoid the feeling of regret. That it's a feeling that many times avoids people from choosing, or makes the decision more difficult.
That's really interesting. I love it. And what do you think are the main challenges where behavioral science can help in the business, the digital business?
One of the main challenges is something that behavioral economists choose a lot, study a lot. That is related with the fact that people, they care almost as much about fairness as they care about efficiency. Okay. And buying or doing business online can be very efficient, but sometimes it can create the perception of unfairness. Okay. Let me give you an example. Sorry?
In which way do you mean?
Let me give you an example. For example, if people, they don't pay attention or they don't process information online, they can make decisions or do purchases or a business without being completely aware of the conditions. Okay. Mm-hmm. And because of this, after the purchase, they will realize the conditions and they will feel betrayal, right? Yes. So they feel it was not a fair trade. Okay. Mm-hmm. One important thing, and this was done by Uber, related with the search pricing. Okay. You know, like Uber has this search pricing methodology where prices increase with demand. If there's more demand, prices will increase. Okay. And what they were realizing is that people, first, they didn't understand the search pricing concept. Second, they were not really aware of how much more they were going to pay when search pricing was active. So what they did, so to increase the awareness of how much more they were paying for the trip, they started asking people to introduce the multiple. How much was the multiple? How many times the price was higher than in normal conditions? Mm-hmm. So this is also a technique of cognitive disfluency, because it makes you introduce the number in your smartphone, and this makes you aware of how much you are paying in terms of pricing. Yes. So you cannot complain, and you cannot have the feeling of unfairness anymore.
Yeah, because I remember about that. People were complaining about the prices.
Yeah.
I
And
think
that's the problem with many purchases online. That people don't completely process the conditions, and that can create perceptions of fairness.
yeah, that's happened also when you go to a new
Of a
platform
fair-
that you don't read. You just
Sorry.
this happens when you go to new platforms also that you create your profile and you don't read, and then people complain. That is true. And how do
You
you
don't
think?
read the conditions.
Yeah, and how do you think the social media platform and using it? Because I'm sure you realize when you use Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn, how are they using these kind of things? Can you say some example?
About sorry, can you
How
repeat
they use
your?
how they use the behavioral science in social media, in Facebook, for example.
How do they use? How these
Yeah,
platforms use?
yeah, something they use it a lot. But can you say some sample now
Yeah, like they use it in many ways. Like
with
the
the
first
birthday?
one is with big data. So basically, there's this concept in behavioral science, in psychology actually, but now it's behavioral science and nudging that it's effect heuristic. So we always pay more attention to information that conveys an emotion. Okay.
Yes.
And a very easy way to make information convey an emotion to you is to make it personally relevant, right? To
Yes.
personalize. So these social platforms, it's very easy for them because they have access to your digital um, footstep. Is it like
Yeah.
this
Well,
that we
all your
say in English?
information, no?
Yeah, they have access to data about your digital behavior. It's very easy for them to show you the information that they know it's relevant for you. Okay, and sometimes in the right moment. Okay, because
Yes.
that's also you can personalize information not only in terms of its content, but also in terms of its timing. Okay, so if you want to sell something to someone, maybe you want to show it in in a special occasion or next to the birthday of the person or when she goes to on vacation. So personalization, it's not only the content of the information but also the timing, and we know timing makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
We know, yeah, we know that people open emails or people, like there's this very interesting book from Daniel Pink. It's called When, and he shows a study that tells us that there are periods of the day where there's a higher probability of people saying yes to requests.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to know that.
Next to lunchtime and in the
Yes.
end of the afternoon. So
Really? And
yeah, the same action, the same request, if it's presented next to lunchtime or the end of the afternoon, has a higher likelihood of being accepted. So timing is also very important. But but for example, in terms of social media, one very interesting study from some Swiss researchers that also pops to my mind. It's the fact that social media can be detrimental to customer satisfaction. So I think this is something very interesting that brands and anyone that does advertisement online should be aware, because like what these researchers showed is that when customers do posts with their purchases online, they noticed that people became more conformist. People have this huge urge to conform. So there was more conformity. So the purchases started being more homogeneous. There was less originality, less creativity. So people were starting to buy the same shoes, the same color of car.
yeah.
These herd behavior started to emerge, and they show that customers were less satisfied on average because they were purchasing not according with their preferences, but according with the norm of the community. So this is an example of how online social media advertisement can backfire in terms of customer satisfaction.
And also, I hear that it also depends the way you put the price, how you position the price, the size of the price is also an important factor.
Yes. There are so. Position on the screen is very important, but also another thing it's color. So the saturation of the color and the brightness. Okay, we pay more attention to more bright stimuli and more saturated in terms of color. And also you can also, well, these are all tips. I guess the people that work online they are well, maybe not, I don't know, but like the range of colors,
so there are everything.
Yeah, there's a range of colors that are mostly used online. So I think there are 16 types of colors, and so if you use colors out of this range, you increase the probability of calling the attention of people. And another thing is asymmetry. Okay.
Yes.
So if the image is not symmetric, it becomes too complex for the brain, and that's people who look away. Okay. And another interesting finding is that people pay more attention to information so people look at the screen from left to right. So if you put information on the horizontal, it will be more processed than if you put it on the vertical. Okay?
Because it's the way we
read.
It's because it's the way we read.
It's the way we read. So imagine if you have 6 computers, okay?
Yes.
And you want to present them to the user. If you put the computers as columns, you can do two things: to put the computers as columns or as rows.
Yes.
If you put the computers as rows, people will pay attention to the product, to the computer, because it's the horizontal information. If you put the computer as rows, people will pay attention to the attributes. The attributes will be much more compared, because that's the information that's posted horizontally. Yeah. So these are all things that people can have in mind when they want to influence behavior online.
Yeah, this is true.
For the good and the bad, of course.
Sorry? The what?
For the good and the bad.
Yes. Yes, that's true. That's really interesting, Diogo. A lot of questions come to my mind, but I don't know if it's too much. But what is the most important one? So if you start doing something online, imagine now a lot of people is starting projects online because they lost their jobs and everything for the situation. What is if you can give them only one tip?
Yeah.
What will be the most important?
Yeah, I would talk about this study that tried to explain what are the two more. Well, he actually found the two more important characteristics in a website that explain 48% of the preferences of a website. Okay, so he tested hundreds of websites, and they went to see what are the two characteristics that explain the preferences of people for a website. And the two characteristics, one was colorfulness. So how saturated were the colors, and how many colors were out of the range normally used by websites. And of course, there were demographic differences according, like with your gender, with your culture. So,
Yes.
some countries prefer, like in Malaysia, they like more bright colors than in Finland or Russia. So there are differences.
Yes.
But in
general.
one of the most important thing is colorfulness. But the most important thing was visual complexity. Okay. So how easy it was to process the image. Okay. So if the image is asymmetrical, it's not so difficult to process than if it's symmetrical. Okay. So if it has a lot of links, if it has a lot of information, immediately people will want to look away. So if you want to start, and I guess that's why Google has this very simple image, right? So
and also the logo is not symmetric in Google.
Yeah, it's slightly asymmetrical.
Yes.
Yeah. To call the attention, yeah. But yeah, if you want to start something, the most important thing I would say would be these two things, like call it to make the information visual complexity to be low in terms of visual complexity.
Okay, that's good. The people always tell me that the colors that I choose for my web page, they say, why did you choose these colors? Are not too common, so I did it good. Only the blue one, but the other two, the people is like, why did you choose this color with this one? And I had a good advisor for that.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah.
Wow, it's really interesting.
Yeah, no, so the combination of colors, for example, and also like what you want to convey with the colors should be coherent with your product, right?
And with the personality of the company.
Yeah, so we know that like white conveys calmness. She's related with trust.
Yes.
And blue and green also convey trust.
Yes.
Red conveys more like other emotions. So yeah, it's also important to be coherent with the personality of the brand and the business that you are trying to sell.
Yeah, of course. This is important. This is what I do. We complement what the part what you do and the part that I do.
Yeah.
Okay, really interesting. Something else that you would like to add, Diogo? Something else that I didn't ask you?
Sorry?
Something else that you would like to add? To say to the people?
No, yeah, like the last thing I can say is that online behavior is more and more relevant. Economic decisions are being done more and more online, important ones,
Yes.
very important ones. So it's important to understand them and to test. Like it's very easy to do A/B testing online and to see what works better. And I think in the future, I think it's already happened, but in the future you can have different versions of the same website for different segments of customers.
This is already, there are companies already doing it.
Yeah, so I think we will see a lot of innovations and progress in the next
Because
years.
also there is people that love to read and have a lot of information, and also in difference in the countries. I see that when I do marketing in Spain, it's completely different when I do marketing in the Netherlands. The way the people communicate and they search online and everything is completely different.
Yeah, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah, there are a few things that are similar, but the way we behave, Spain and Portugal is closer, but Spain and the Netherlands is like two different worlds.
Yeah. There are a lot of differences.
Okay, thank you very much, Diogo, for all the knowledge.
You're welcome.
I don't know
it was my pleasure.
I don't know if someone is there listening and want to ask some question. I see only a hello in the messages. But well, if we don't have questions now, maybe they want to say question later.
I'll be good.
I will call you, Diogo. You have questions in my page.
Sure. And then we answer on the comment.
Okay, so thank you very much, Diogo. Really nice
You're
to
welcome.
see you.
My pleasure.
Have a good day.
Ciao. Likewise.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Bye.